Hey guys, how you doing? And welcome back to Team Prawn Racing. Today I'm going to be stripping the manifold out, hopefully for the last time, because our new manifold from ZK Fabrications has arrived. Hopefully you can see this. It's an absolute work of art. Look at the welds on this. Absolutely unreal. You can barely even see where the pipes join the flange. Handmade collector, wonderfully smoothed and ported inside. So that is going to be replacing the absolutely ancient TSR Nortec that's on the car at the moment. What I'm going to do is strip the turbo out, strip the old manifold off, hang the new manifold on, split the turbine housing from the main turbo core, bolt my downpipe on, rejig my wastegate return slightly. I'll set the camera up on a tripod and we'll see how this goes. There you go. That's out. That's all in pretty good shape. All looking good. Check out the turbine. All looking pretty good. Turbo's out. Time to strip off the manifold. We'll drop the ZK manifold on and then we'll start offering up the wastegate and see how things are going to work. Bolted the G25 up to the ZK manifold. This is roughly how it sits when it's on my engine. Spot on clearance to get the water fitting onto the wastegate here. Absolutely spot on wastegate versus turbo. Plenty of room. Just really, really nice. The oil drain comes straight down here. EGT goes in there. Just the clearance between the wastegate and the compressor housing and everything is really nice. Might be a little tight if you had a 3076 on there, but I think it would still go. Right, I'm going to crack on and get this manifold in there. So here we have the original TSR manifold made by Nortec, complete with butchered wastegate addition, random extra flow to stop that cracking. And here is a ZK replacement. You can see pretty similar design, but the wastegate there just doesn't work. This wastegate is a lot shorter, and hopefully that is going to answer my issues with wastegate pipes constantly snapping. The weld quality on here is absolutely lovely still. I think Zach's is better, but the original weld quality on the Nortec is pretty good. And what Zach pointed out to me is that this must be a very early Nortec because the tube joints are welded by hand. Whereas if we come over here on the ZK manifold, the joints in the tubes in the runners are automated with a welder. So yeah, that's the two manifolds. Runner size, we'll zero this. These 42 OD, 42 OD. Same runner size, that straight bit there is a good one to check on. 42, 42. It's the same runner size. If you try and look inside the Nortec, you can see there's a ridge here where it's welded. If you look inside the ZK manifold, you can see a seam where the two materials are slightly different. There is no step whatsoever. That's actually a joint in there, and the way the weld has got inside that, absolutely incredible. Much the same story when you look in the collector on Zach's manifold. Really, really nicely finished. So there you go. And the unfortunate thing about this original Nortec, this is over 7 years old. It was originally one of the 38mm gates. Mark opened up the collector, added on this section after the 38mm gate caused horrendous creep. That led to it cracking just because it was so long. I think that's why this lower runner was added. So when that was originally added, it's done quite nicely with a TIG. But at some point, someone has had to attack this with a MIG to keep it from falling apart, and it's the MIG'd repairs that have caused it to go on and crack. The actual Nortec original work is all absolutely perfect still, and I think would have gone on for a very long time to come. But this is what happens when you badly modify a manifold. There's no real going back. But dodgy manifold days are over. ZK Fabrications manifold about to go on. I really want one of those electric ratchets you see on most car mods. That'll be so much quicker than doing this. For the minute, I've left the old gasket in there because I don't want to put any compression on a new gasket before the final time it's clamped down. I've got 2 nuts on the top, and I'm also going to put one on the bottom of the flange just to be 100% confident it's sat flat. Yeah, so fitting is pretty similar to the Nortec. There's going to be 3 studs you can't get to with a socket, but you will be able to get them with a ring spanner or a C spanner. I use a Blue Point 12mm ratchet spanner with a slightly cranked head. If you have one of the snap-on ones with the bendy head, it will be even easier. Right, that is done. Grab a light, one ZK Fabrications 20 valve manifold in the A3 engine bay. This wastegate comes out and goes down here. These are the gear cables. Wastegate comes out here, gear cables here. I'm going to offer the wastegate up and see what sort of space we're working with. Right, so I've got the wastegate in, and the initial thoughts might not be as bad as I thought. Really hard to see exactly here, but there's the gear cables. There's the wastegate outlet. So provided that comes out and goes immediately off to the left, it could work. What I'm going to do, just to get an idea, I'm just going to go under the car. There's the old dump tube. I'm going to offer that up to the wastegate, see how it sits, what sort of room we have on the gear cables. So I'll see you under there. I don't know how well this is going to come across on camera, but I am absolutely soaked now. I had a weep from the coolant line where I'd undone it from the turbo. I already drained it out of the rad, but when you drain the rad it doesn't get everything that's in the block, so the last couple of litres that were in the block was slowly dripping down from the coolant line. So I thought I'd just grab hold of it and pull it down and put it in a bucket, and as I did, it just dropped the most ridiculous amount of water on me, so I'm a little bit wet. But I think this is going to work. There's the wastegate outlet, and there are the gear cables, and they are the right size of where they want to go. I offer that up. Tell you what, it's not as much room as I'd like, but it clears. Definitely clears. Just not sure where we're going to get a flexi in this system. If I rotate the gate a little, I'll probably rotate it to about there and still get a clamp on it. If I drop that in now, there's a good 15mm clearance there. With a bit more heat wrap and some stuff, I'm sure that could be made to work. I'm pretty sure standard Nortecs run even tighter than that. Well, we can make this happen, definitely. Really awkward to film whilst I'm down here. I'm going to do a bit of work, and I'll see you guys in a bit. Hey guys, so it's now the next day. I've got the manifold on, I've got the turbo hung, just about to throw the downpipe on so I can work out where this wastegate route is going to go. Here you can see it sits exactly where it's at before. Plenty of clearance down to the rocker cover, but that is the turbo sat on the new manifold. So we're going to get the downpipe in there and see what we need to do with this wastegate pipe. Right guys, down in the pit, I've got the downpipe on, got the exhaust back together. I'm trying to look at ways to make this wastegate pipe work, and it's not looking too good. So if I spin this round, see the pipe coming down off the gate. You can see the V-band where I would previously connect in. It's just not going to happen. I've got to get a couple of bends in there and a flexi, and the flexi is the biggest issue. There's no point doing this without a flexi, but that is not going to fit with one. So we're going to have to abandon that idea, which is a shame. On to plan B, I guess, which is cut this one off. And then we'll see what happens. It's now Wednesday evening. I had a bit of a late one in here last night, but unfortunately I filled the memory card, so I didn't actually get to film much of it. But net result is one wastegate pipe redone. So cut the old one off because it was never going to happen. New one is on. Now I am not the best welder in the world, as I'm sure you can see. However, I'm happy that it's done by myself. It's going to last. It's going to be gas tight. It's going to do the job. So that's one new wastegate pipe. So all that's left to do now, just pop this down so I can show you, is cut out this section with a hole in it. I was just going to cut that out and plate over it. I could do with making it about 10mm longer so I don't run into the issue I had at Bedford with the centre section being slightly short with my silence centre. So I'm going to cut that out, let a slightly longer piece in, weld it all back up, get it on the car, and we are nearly ready to turn the key again. Right, well there's mess everywhere. I've got the new piece made. I don't know how well you can see this. I've prepped the ends, I've sanded off the polished finish, I've chamfered the ends, cleaned out the inside of the pipe. Just going to fire up the welder and try and tack it into place and then offer it up, make sure it all fits before I weld it up fully. Slightly unusual one for you. A little tip for when I weld tubes together and you want to get them lining up as well as you can. I wrap around the tube fully with masking tape to get the joint together, and then use a Stanley knife to cut out little sections where you can put your first tack welds. To do that, and then the joints inside, I don't know if you can see, are really smooth. So I'm going to tack that together now, take the tape off, make sure it's all good, and then test it on the car, and if it's all okay, weld it up fully. Right, so I've got 3 little tack welds on there. So whilst it's all still hot, peel the tape off. If you let this cool, I have found that tape will never come off. Well, obviously it will come off, but it's not nice. So I'll wire brush that up, test it on the car. If it all fits, I'll weld the thing up fully. Got the first bit welded up. I didn't show me welding because the workbench behind me is an absolute state. Here we go. As you can see, that bit looks alright. Just focus on that bit. It's all welded up, it's solid. So if you'll be able to see this, but the penetration inside looks pretty good. You can see where there's a tack there. Really nice penetration inside. So first bit welded up, test fitted, that fits fine on the car, still lines up with the next bit to go on. So I'm going to tack that up once this has cooled down enough for me to hold this. And yeah, crack on. So we're back down in the pit. Got the first part of the exhaust welded up. I'm just going to try and turn this round to show you. So the first part is welded up there. Just checking that this all lines up. When the exhaust is held down into position, that lines up really nicely. I've marked it. So I'm going to pop it all off, weld it up, and then I can start, once it's cool, I can start heat wrapping it and we're good to go. While I'm up here you can see the new wastegate pipe in there. The old one used to join in where this new shiny bend is. Obviously I've cut that out and replaced it. You can also see how much clearance we have around everything. So the benefits of having a front wheel drive shell is that you can have absolutely loads of room for everything. And we've got up there, we've got a good, it's really hard to see, but got a good 20mm plus to the gear cables, so I might add a bit more shielding to them, but I'm way happier with how they're sitting now than how they were previously. And that is one downpipe done. New wastegate pipe, new section here. Welding is getting better. It's not perfect, but it's functional and it'll do the job, and if it breaks, I now know I'm confident enough that I can fix it myself. I'm going to let that cool down, then I'm going to wrap it with the 1000-degree magma heat wrap that I got from Think Automotive. Thanks, Matt. And then we'll be ready to get it back on the car. Right, well, it's probably about a week since I've last been in the garage. Had quite a lot going on at the moment. I've got an afternoon spare, got everything I need now, so we're going to throw it back together and hopefully fire it up today. Considering this has been parked up for 6 weeks, still on 12.74 with no charger, I'm pretty happy with that. One engine bay, largely back together. Anything that's missing is the turbo intake pipe down there. So the turbo's back in with the downpipe re-wrapped with our shiny new ZK manifold that you can't even see anymore. Wastegate in the new position that you also can't see because it's tucked in pretty nicely now. Currently got the injectors unplugged so it won't actually fire. Right, so we're going to turn it over, make sure it all spins over okay, get some oil around it, and then once the Once the oil's had a chance to spin around, we'll plug the injectors back in and we'll see if it starts. So we'll plug these back in. 1, 2, 3, 4. Injectors plugged back in. I'm going to turn the key and we'll see what it does. Bit of a squeak from the cam belt, not sure why, but fired up, running. First cold start in nearly 7 weeks now, and I think that's pretty good. Success! We've run the car up to temp, it's all pretty good, no signs of any leaks. Just got one last job to do, and that is to fit this heat shield. So this is a factory heat shield for in the CV joint on the driver's side, right hand side. I've added a load of Nimbus G12 heat shielding to it to make it a bit more effective. That sits here somewhere, but there's a bit of a problem. When that's in place there, I don't know if you can still see that, when that's in place, it actually hits the shaft still. So what I've had to do is take some 3mm washers and grind them down to make a wedge. So I'm just going to throw them in and I'll report back and make sure it works. And it now isn't touching. So you can see how close the exhaust runs. I've never had a problem before, but what happened at Bedford when the exhaust got really hot and the heat wrap had come off due to the downpipe cracking, it melted the CV boot and that was destroyed. So brand new boot on there, CV rebuilt with CV2 grease, new heat shield. That should keep it all together. It's probably worth saying that I don't expect any performance gains from fitting the manifold. The main reason for doing this is to try and improve reliability. I bought the old Nortec TSR manifold second hand along with a used turbo and wastegate. I'm still using that wastegate and I have used that manifold for over 18 months. Been welded up a couple of times, been welded up several times before me, and a few modifications just meant that the way the wastegate sat made it crack too easily. The main thing I'm trying to achieve there is reliability. Everything fits nicely. I've added an EGT sensor into the collector. The formula, the runner size, everything is already proven to flow well. The layout Zach's gone with flows really nicely, works really well on the 180T, especially with the G series turbos. So we're just trying to make the car more reliable so we can hopefully keep on going lap after lap on track days instead of having issues. So yeah, time to go out for a test drive, and fingers crossed it feels as good as it always has. Hey guys, don't know if you can hear me. I've just put the cameras away because I was on my way home, but third gear, fine. Don't know if you can hear that noise. That's on the power in fourth. Fourth overrun. That's knackered. I'm not actually going fast enough for 6, but I'll show you later. 6, just as bad. 5th, 4th, back to 3rd. So I guess the box is coming out then. Right guys, well we've been for a test drive. Good news is it is working really well. Car's making loads of power, feeling really good. The bad news is the gearbox is now out. So I went out on the first test drive, car was feeling absolutely awesome, fairly liberal use of the boost button, and at 30 psi in 4th gear the gearbox finally let go, stripped the teeth off 4th and took out 6th in the process. So something's clearly working because the car's making a serious amount of power. Everything felt really good, spool up was really nice, yeah, almost too good. So if you've liked the video, please don't forget to like, share and subscribe. If you want any information about the manifold, then speak to Zach at ZK Fabrications. You'll find them on Facebook or Instagram. Other than that, I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks very much. Oh dear, I am filthy. Just looking for some calipers. Not ideal, 10mm, you'd like more, but beggars, choosers, things like that. Get a bit more length on that. Wish I could wedge this somewhere. So I'm just going to get it in. That's sort of in. I mean, there's 2.5 inches in there. That is in. Penetration. 2 nuts. Flange. Shaft. Bottom of the flange. So I'm a little bit wet. I should probably add this because I haven't done before. Massive thanks to Rainbird for doing the editing on these videos. I'm fairly useless with a computer and Rainbird seems to be pretty good at it. So yeah, thanks mate. Thanks for editing it all together for me. You're doing a better job than I did. Nut, 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 2 nuts, nut, 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 flange, nut, 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 filthy, nut, 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 bottom of the flange, nut, 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 2 nuts, nut, 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 flange, nut, 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 2.5 inches, penetration, shaft, bottom of the flange.